Meltdown Abroad is the only podcast run by an educational psychologist and an occupational therapist designed specifically for expat parents navigating life abroad while managing the emotional ups and downs that come with parenting far from home.
We are two professionals who live the chaos we coach other people through. I'm Chanel, the pediatric occupational therapist, and Tara is our educational psychologist. We will share real stories full of humor and authentic experiences, as well as expert insights for expat families navigating overwhelm, burnout, and a lot of big emotions.
Welcome back to another episode of Meltdown Abroad. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Have you had a meltdown yet this week?
I haven't had a meltdown, but I do have a client meltdown that I'm allowed to share. So one of my clients, it's her first year in Germany.
Okay.
And it's Thanksgiving in the US. So she's planning and preparing for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
She's doing Friendsgiving this week and Thanksgiving next week. And her family are actually flying here.
Wow. Okay.
In the midst of that, her kids are like, we want Christmas, we want lights, we want to do all the Christmas things that our friends are doing because it's Christmas time in Germany. All the Christmas markets are out. And so she's like, I am so overwhelmed right now. I don't know how to manage all of this because I'm trying to plan for Thanksgiving. They have no interest in it right now because their friends are all excited for Christmas. And so what do I do? She's like, I just don't know how to switch my brain between these things. And I just thought it was a great meltdown to mention because it ties so well into our episode today about managing holiday overstimulation.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's so many things going on at this time of year that can lead anyone to feel really overwhelmed, and particularly parents, and even more specifically expat parents who are navigating just a lot of newness at the same time and still trying to navigate all the events and setting things up and how do we create that for our kids. And there's a lot, of expectations as well, I think, around the holidays. Sometimes they're ours. Sometimes we add them ourselves. We set them, and we set them unnecessarily. And sometimes other people have them, or sometimes we assume other people have them. And we might be assuming incorrectly, that maybe we are assuming that people have visions for the way that we're going to participate in things. And it's not always that we have to do that or even that those are correct.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's this idea of how things should be. And then we try, we have these caricatures that we try to represent. We have a certain vision of, I'm supposed to show up to this event and this is what's supposed to happen. And these are the series of events within that event. These are the sequences of how this event is going to happen. And so I need to make sure my family fits into this sequence. Whereas really it's about managing these events within the realms of what you and your family can do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really the key to all of it is how can I look at this with my partner, look at our goals for what do we want from the things that we are deciding to participate in? What do we really want? Why are we doing those things? And how can we do them so that they work really well for us? And I think that actually takes a little deep dive around honestly what does work for you. Sometimes we are moving forward so fast for all of the planning and all of the cooking and all of the preparing that we forget to stop and think about why we're really doing what we're doing and what really matters and how we can help ourselves to do that in a way that works for us.
Yeah. And just thinking about how we can sometimes create these what's the word you said? Create an illusion of what the expectation is.
Yeah, we make assumptions. I think.
Yeah, we make assumptions. I think it's a good thing to first check in with yourself and what you need. What are your assumptions for yourself? What do I need to get me through this holiday? And I think checking in with your partner is good because if you have a partner, they're there to balance the load with you. It shouldn't all be on you.
Absolutely.
But also you don't want to throw your own expectations onto them unknowingly because then it becomes overwhelming for them. Yeah. And I think we can also have conversations with the kids because what are they actually interested in? We're planning and doing all these things and they don't care. So if they don't care and if they don't want to be a part of it, it makes it harder for us when we're dragging them to these things.
Absolutely. And I think that even some of the overwhelm can be from some of that, moving forward without those conversations. And then suddenly now we've signed up for way more events than what actually works for us. And we're cooking for way more events than what actually works for us. And then we're taxed and our kids are taxed. And maybe we haven't had conversations yet about like, okay, so if I'm doing more cooking over the next few days, what are some things that your partner could help with to sort of ease that load and balance it out so that we're not doing all of the normal things plus all of the preparation for the holidays, including present buying, cooking, decorating, all of these things. And so it's like, how can we have some of those conversations in advance that help us to know, okay, so some of my roles will be these things and some of your roles will be those things. And that way that part is clear. Yeah, is having some of these conversations with our partners about just kind of managing the new load over the holidays, right? So if one person is cooking quite a lot more, what could the other person be doing that really helps out so that we're not just taking all of the normal things and adding, right? We might need to share responsibilities a little bit more during that time, but then also checking in too on why are we participating in this versus that? Why are we saying yes to this? Is it just because it's a holiday event and more is more, or is there something that was really important about this one? And maybe this one matters a little bit less and we could say no to that, particularly when it comes to our kids. And even more specifically, if you have neurodivergent kids. Yeah. Because they might need things to look a little bit different. And it might go so much better if it does. You know, if we are really thinking about looking at our past experience, what really works? Because we know what works. Yeah. We really do. And so we know what works. So even I can give an example for me. When we go to big events where there's lots of people, lots of noise, lots of food, perhaps lots of time at the dinner table that's much longer than the norm, we make sure that there's a space that they can go that's a little calmer, a little more quiet with fewer people. We usually have either headphones or like a quiet activity that we bring from home that they may or may not use, but they have if they want it. And then we almost always have comfortable clothes. Yeah. Because usually the thing that we put on, even if it's the kids' idea of like, I want to wear this fancy dress or this other thing, several hours into an event, that dress doesn't feel that good anymore. Yeah, that's true. And that can be so bothersome over the course of the day, the course of the evening. So if we have a backup of something that feels more comfortable, maybe we don't need it, but it calms everybody down just by virtue of knowing we have it. Yeah. And some of those things can just shift how easy it is to participate, you know? And I think we can also set some really good boundaries about what works, and that can look in a really friendly, lovely way. So if you're invited to something and you haven't gone there and you don't know, maybe the family doesn't know very much about neurodiversity, or maybe they just don't know about your child or your situation very well, we can ask. Yeah. You know, we can ask if there's, you know, the room where you're throwing all the coats, you know, can we hang out in there if we need to take a little break from things? That really helps us. Or, you know, do you mind if we hop out on the balcony every now and then just to take a few quiet minutes? And if the answer to that is, of course, then probably there's some flexibility at that event and it could be one that you could go to. And if the answer is no, that's definitely not going to work for us, that's good information to know, you know?
No, absolutely. I think when you are the parent of a neurodivergent child or a child with sensitivities, it often feels more overwhelming, especially when they're in events that you're being invited to. Yeah. And this time of the year, that's typically what happens, especially if you're the expat moving into a new culture, you're going to be going to the events, not hosting them. And so you have to be comfortable with asking ahead, right? You have to be comfortable in knowing that people are not here to judge. And some people just don't know. So if you don't have these conversations, if you don't explain what your fears and your worries are, or just what you need, people are not going to know because they've never experienced this before. And so just not being afraid to ask and to speak up for yourself and to set your boundaries. So like you were saying, I always tell families, like, just find out if there's a room, a quiet room that you can take your child to throughout the evening. Maybe they have food sensitivity, the smells. Maybe it's about eating in a different space or taking a walk so that you don't feel like you're disconnecting from the group in the same space, so going and taking a walk during that time. Yeah. And then like you mentioned, bringing your own clothes, bring your own food. So if you know what your child wants and likes and they're not going to enjoy what's on the table, just pre-pack and prepare for what they're actually going to enjoy so that they can be a part of it. And so that's one less stressful thing for you. But I think really confiding in the people that you're showing up for, if you're not able to do that, then that probably means you need to set boundaries that just mean no.
Well, that's it. Like, so sometimes the boundary might be that we don't go.
Yeah.
And sometimes the boundary might be that we just go in a slightly different way. You know, a lot of the time for my family, we will go to events on the early side. You know, so we'll go there early. We'll help set up. We'll bring food. If it's an event where there's wine, we'll bring some wine.
Yeah.
And we'll do that early bit. The kids will have some time to play when all the people aren't there yet, you know? Maybe we have a shared meal, those kinds of things. The kids have usually a place where they can go and be a little bit more on their own or a little bit more quiet if they want. And then we leave early.
Yeah.
And for us, and I think for a lot of families, you know, we have kids that are more sensitive to those bedtime routines. And if they get really good sleep, then we're good. But if they don't tolerate staying up really, really late just because an event is running late, and then they really don't feel very good. And so that's a boundary that we've set so that we can go to events, enjoy them. The kids already know, so they're not surprised when we leave before the event is done. And it's smooth.
Yeah.
But we need that for it to be smooth.
No, absolutely. A part of that, doing things within the capacity of what your family can do, is trying to stick to those routines as much as you can, right? So maybe we're eating more sugar, but it also means that we're going to bed relatively around the same time. Or maybe we're not eating as much sugar, but we're going to bed later.
Right. How do we balance?
It's just a little bit of a balance of how much can I stick to what the norms are for myself and my family, so that we're not exhausted and overwhelmed with all the back-to-back events. And I think you had a good analogy as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I am someone who really benefits from having a regular exercise routine. It's calming. It supports basically everything in my life. But if you go on holiday, if you're away on a vacation, you're not exercising the exact same amount as you do at home, right? It's just, there's no way, and probably you don't want to either. And I think about it as if you can do 75%. If you can do 75% of what your normal routine would be, wow, that's a win, right? And so over the holidays, if you can do 75% of the routines that your kids normally have, and 25% is the newness and the fun and the things that are different, but there's still this undertone of routine, they do so much better, because that routine is what stabilizes. That routine is the thing that allows us to feel calm and have room for newness, right? And so if we just keep about 75% of what that looks like, our kids do so much better. And it helps me to frame it a little bit of like, okay, how, you know, we are going to do some things that are new. There are going to be some new people and some new places and some new foods. And there's some great things about that. And it can get overwhelming if it's too much. For me, that helps as a little guide.
No, that's good. I mean, and just going back to having these conversations with your partner, especially, it's sharing the load can look like also sharing the going out events, the event loads, right? So if your partner doesn't want to go and they're not that interested, maybe it's your opportunity to go off and enjoy this night, kids free, family free, stress free, just let loose, right? Or you guys can take turns. If it's about somebody representing the family, then maybe this week you go and the next week your partner goes. Or if you just want a kids-free night, get a babysitter.
Yeah, it's
right?
okay.
Have somebody watch the kids. They don't have to be there, because, you know, you're thinking, oh, all these kids are going to be there. And they're like, I don't know any of them. I don't want to make new friends right now.
Right. No thanks.
So if you bring them apart into the conversation and actually ask them like, hey, so-and-so is going to be there. They might not have any interest, and you've been stressing yourself out trying to figure out how you're going to accommodate for them in this space when they don't want to be there.
And that's, you know, sometimes this happens quite a lot when you're a parent. You're trying to navigate so many roles at once. You're trying to be the really good friend to your friend who's a fabulous host, and you're trying to be mom at the same time, and you're trying to be wife at the same time. And all of these things, they don't always sometimes they were great, and other times they don't always go that well together. And if you really want to be there for your friend or help her host an event, maybe that's one where the kids get to just chill out at home and have their own night, and you go and do that. And it's okay to separate those things sometimes.
No, absolutely. I agree with that. At the end of the day, the holidays are meant to be meaningful. It's about spending time together. It's about being with your loved ones. It's joy. It's happiness. It's not about overwhelm. It's not about overstimulation. And so if that's what your norm feels like during the holiday season, then we really need to draw back and reassess what's happening, right? Yeah. Why are we doing this? Who are we doing this for? And how is it benefiting my family and my family's needs?
Right. And have we talked about the things that are really important? Because probably not every event is really important to everybody, and certainly not equally, right? And so, like, what are the goals? Like, what do we really want to achieve? Who do we really want to spend some time with? What really matters to the kids, actually? And if you and your partner have certain things that really matter to you, talking about those, and then focusing on those. Because it's usually just that there's a lot of events. There's a lot more evenings out. There's a lot more food that you don't normally have, know? And so it's, if we're just focusing on some of the events that really matter, and we're dividing up well, and we're coming up with some different ways of participating when the kids are joining in a way that really works. And also even for you, I mean, big groups may be something that's fabulous for you. It might not be, And so just even knowing ourselves and our own limitations and preferences can help to choose, like, how many big group events am I doing this week? Maybe this is too many, and I think just being more honest with ourselves. Because usually we really do know. We know what our capacities are. We know where our kids really do well and where they really have a good time. And where they don't, and where it's harder. And there might be some of those events that are harder, but they're really important to you. It's like, okay, so if it's harder and it's more important to you, then what are some ways to make it a little bit more feasible for the kids and for yourself? If that one feels like it needs to be a yes.
And just going back to, like, that's an excellent time to really touch base with your body, right? That feeling of knowing is your body communicating with you. So usually when you're starting to feel that overwhelm, that overstimulation, there's something happening. There's a discomfort somewhere that's telling us, like, oh God, you're dreading this right now. That's your body's cue. So if you're getting more headaches, right? If you're getting more tummy aches, if you're just having brain fogs all the time, it's probably a sign that my body feels overwhelmed and that I need to just tone it down a little bit, take a step back, and maybe delete some of the things on my to-do list. I mean, we talk about the holidays and we forget that in the midst of all of this, there's still work going on. So the kids might have holidays, but like you as the parent, the adult, you're still showing up, going to work every day. At least one of you are. And if you're like in an expat in a country like Germany where they've already started celebrating Christmas and we're not at the holiday season yet. So you're having to go to the Christmas markets and do all the little festivities that you're probably curious about. In the midst of that, you're also having to work. So you have regular loads that's happening in your daily life.
It's a lot. And I think those cues are really important to pay attention to. And they're a good sign that something might just need to be adjusted a little bit. It's like, okay, so maybe it's a check-in with my partner. Maybe it's that actually this event is too tricky for all of us to go to, or it's only too tricky for all of us to go to because I haven't had a conversation with the host yet. And maybe that's all I need to do. And then suddenly, because when you set them up so that they actually work for your family and for yourself in a way that's real and honest, like the relief is fast, like and immediate. Right?
You definitely feel a change in your body, and that stress really does lower. I mean, for me personally, the last couple of events are usually the ones that get missed because I've been go for so long, and then I'm just like burnt out. So it's just not happening. I've had the fun,
and it's okay. It's okay, and it's better to say no to stuff that doesn't work, and honor when you're like, I'm at capacity now. And
Exactly.
the answer now needs to be no, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there's a lot of takeaways from this episode.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there's always the one to just be gentle and kind with yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all. You don't have to show up.
Yeah.
The holidays is about you and your loved ones,
That's
not
right.
anybody else.
That's right. And it doesn't have to look in any particular way.
Yeah.
If you want to participate in something and it needs to look slightly different, or you have to do it in a slightly different way so that it works for everybody, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And then everyone enjoys it. Then everyone has such a good time, and the stress is much lower just because we're actually doing the things that we know work for us.
Maybe you don't have to sit through 5-hour dinner. Maybe you just show up for dessert and drinks.
That's right.
Yeah. And everybody's happy.
Exactly.
You don't have to bring as much because you just have to bring a bottle.
Yeah, that's right. I think, on that list of takeaways, so the conversations with our partners, right? And being clear and asking questions around the things that are really important, what we really want to do, for the things that we really want to do, how can we do them? How can we do them in a way that actually really works for everybody, not as just in line with some expectations? Mm-hmm. And also even talking about what some of those expectations are, because they might be in our heads. Like they actually might not have.
A lot of them are.
The expectations that we think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of them are fear-based. You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of, not fitting in, especially if you're in a new environment. Yeah. You definitely want to think about what your goals are. Yeah. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Right. How does it benefit me, myself, and my family?
That's right. How can I tweak it so it works for us?
Yep, absolutely. And then just being honest with what the capacity is. Yeah. What's the capacity for yourself? What's the capacity for the kids? What's feasible for you and your family?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is really helpful. It's a good reminder as we go into the holiday season that it can look all sorts of different ways. Mm-hmm. Now's a great time to be having those conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I want to hear from you guys. We both want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your holiday meltdowns? What is it that you're not looking forward to? We can have a group discussion about it and talk about all the ways we can just set our boundaries and say no.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. As always, join us on all of our social media accounts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, guys.
Happy holidays.